Hello. Must be Tuesday. Tutorial today. Today we're going to be taking a look at Beatmapper. So someone posed a question to me about recording and things not coming as I thought they were. I need to get more detail on that, but in the interim, and I also need to set up for recording directly in Acid because I do it a different way. I'm going to show you how I do it at some point in the near future, and then I'm going to show you how to record directly into it, so you'll have both ways as an example. But the first fundamental step to learning how to make your projects synchronize within the time signatures and tempos and whatnot working in, and the key is to the Beatmapper on known clips or things that you're performing yourself. So let's assume that we're working on a track and a very long file that we're adding, either a recording that we've done or a loop that we have. This is how the easiest and probably the first way you're going to encounter the Beatmapper is if you put a file into Acid Pro that is more than 30 seconds in length, it's going to ask to beatmap the file. And that's because it thinks that it's a very long file. It may not have any information in it, and it probably doesn't have anything in the file. I also bought some loop packs over years that don't have the beats per minute can't talk today. That don't have the beats per minute saved within the file structure, so it doesn't understand what they are. So the Beatmappers come up and told me this and let me go through and set up the files how they should be correctly. In this particular example, we're going to take a 30-second clip of something slightly more than 30 seconds, about 32 seconds of a track that I've been working on just on my off time. I don't think I've finished this one. Something that I had in my head that I threw on the wall to see if it stuck, and it stuck enough to save it, but it didn't stick enough to finish it. Anyway, and we talked about that before, where sometimes saving your ideas helps because in the future you can incorporate pieces and bits of those ideas into other things, and you may be able to finish it at some point when you haven't listened to my ones that are sitting out there pending. Come up with a way to resolve the song. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But in this particular case, it was kind of handy because it's a very simple introduction into the song. It didn't ever get very complicated. The only thing that makes it a little bit odd is I'm going to play it through the Beatmapper metronome on, and by doing so, one of the things I shifted to was putting the downbeat on the drums on the offbeat rather than the primary beat. For the first part of it, it comes out correct. For the other part, it comes out backwards off the metronome, but it fits if you actually take the tempo down too. So we're starting out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the tempo to something slightly more ridiculous. We're going to go to 175 beats per minute, and we're going to set it to the key of sharp. These are not the parameters that my file had, so we're going to see how close Beatmapper can get to getting my file down. Now, I know what this file is set to be for. It's gonna be slightly under 120, and reason for that, but it's not really important as to why. I'm just letting you know it's going. So I named this song "The World Only Ends Once." Here's a 32-second, or slightly more than 30-second part of the song that went in. And as you can see, the Beatmapper did come up. As right up here, the name of the song, 30 seconds. So Beatmapper's detected that the file has no tempo information, but it appears to be a full-length song. Beatmapping this track will allow you to synchronize it with other tracks in the project. So there was a website ages ago called Acid Planet. Acid Planet was out. I was a very active member. Every month or so, they would have a remix contest where they give you the elements of a popular song of the day, and you could remix it and win prizes and whatnot. Sometimes you were remixing a lyrical section that was one piece that was rather long, and if you didn't cut it up, it ended up ending. And if you spare it, beats and tempos, it could get kind of muddy and kind of confusing. It kind of helps a little bit pulling some of that down. So if our track was in fact a minute and we were using the primary root of our track, we want Beatmapper to use the Beatmapper wizard on this file. And we got this box checked that says automatically start Beatmapper wizard for long files, and that will get you going. There, set the time or the location of the file that you want it. 30 seconds is the default. So we're going to click next, and Beatmapper has determined the location of the first downbeat. I want you to verify it and change it if necessary. So we're going to play just the first little bar of it and see. Sometimes you have to play it a couple times to realize that yes, it did hit it right on there, and there is a very, very minute intro, nothing before it starts that it recognizes, and it's pulled that out. Here, all right, now the second step in the Beatmapper is that Beatmapper has determined the length of one measure. So it's going to verify, it's going to ask you to verify and change if necessary. It's going to play what it thinks is one measure of the song, so 4 bars. We're getting a sense of the tempo here at 118 minutes, and it's going to play the metronome along with us to kind of help us get it right on the beat. You can hear it's hitting it pretty close. I'm not going for absolute precision on here because you take it all the way down and you try to get it all lined up. If we were actually doing this for pure production value, I would pull it back and I would see the peaks here where it's hitting. Probably want to stretch these just here. That gets us even closer. So that's how you tune it in. You just scale it down to the point where it's very, movements in here are. But if we were going for perfection, we just starts. So that gets us going. So that is first measure. So we're going to next, and the next one, inspect each measure to ensure. Again, it breaks it down even further. There we go. So now it's figured out that our beats per minute is 119.43, and that is measure 1. We can actually move to measure 2 and go through the entire song if we have drift, like we're seeing a little bit there, and there. Eventually we're going to get to a point where it just goes verse to the metronome. Anyway, now our Beatmapper is finished. File is now beatmapped and playback in sync with the rest of your project. Now we're going to, since this is our primary in the project, change the project tempo to match the Beatmap track and preserve the pitch of the Beatmap track changes. Set this back to Now we're set for a per minute of 119.53. Set it to play the whole song, and I'm going to set the metronome to play with it. Stop talking for about 30 seconds, maybe a minute, just to let the entire track play out a couple times. Hear it and see what it sounds like. You can hear some difficulty around in here because we slid things around. We'd need to tune this up a little bit if we wanted to go in and do that. Right here. Starts to fall out right about towards the end. It does get a little muddy, and it's actually got a little bit more drift in it than it should. So we go in and drop the track and bring it back, because we know where our problem area is. And if it's something that we just can't correct, we can here. Split it cursor. Delete this part. Whatever we want. We can delete it, pitch shift it, buy it, reverse it. Zoom in on this particular looped region. Or we can ditch it and beatmap it and just do a section right here. We just kind of have to be aware of where we're doing. I gotta go, okay. And export this particular part of the track as by moving and then rendering only the part that is not, only the part that's in the loop region, and this, and then you can re-beatmap this bar right here. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but this is the first step, and the first things you should practice is to taking things into the Beatmapper, going through and setting them on the beat correctly, and then having it find your proper beats per minute, problem areas, and then just sliding down in. That kind of gets you going with it. We're going to do a little bit more with this later, but I wanted to kind of get in the direction of making your own recordings and sounds and adding them into Acid. And in order to do that, you kind of have to have a basic fundamental of it. So what I'd suggest you do, if you want to try this out, is just make a sound file that is more than 32 seconds long that has a rhythm. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. Doesn't have to be anything terribly complicated. Something really quick. Just pick a track. Pick a let's pick a drum. Loops. Okay. So we've got these. I want to practice working with Beatmapper. What I want to do is I want to pull this out to about 32 seconds. So I know where I've got this loop region ended is 32 seconds. And then render this track, call it whatever I want, and now I've got something I can practice with. And it'd be simple, easy. This one's a little more complicated than I'd like. I'd just like to do a 4 on the floor drum beat to practice with it first, and then you can mutate beats per minute a little bit and have it pull it back in and see how close it got. This also leads a point as to why sometimes things don't line up when you record them yourself. This track was actually produced and recorded at 120 beats per minute. Now that I've imported it back into Acid, it has decided that it is 119.453 beats per minute. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a change from what I recorded it with, and it is a change from what it thinks it was when it. That has a lot of bearing on why when you're importing things in, they come in at a different bit rate, or different beats per minute than recorded them, because Acid is realizing things or seeing things differently than the actual software that particular sound file out, even if it was Acid as itself that recorded the song. Now, when you record something and your voice, or you record something like a pattern on a bass guitar, and you import that in, due to some of these inaccuracies as to how it's reading the file, it can have a little bearing on how things sound in your project. So you may have to, like I said, go through the Beatmapper and pull things up and kind of get them where you need them to be positioned. And you can usually only have to do this once. Pull one bar in, just focus on one bar. Enough. Manually start the Beatmapper. I thought it was in here. Well, I'm not going to make you stick around for that. I will put it down in the description down below because I need to look it up because I've never actually tried to trigger it manually. But you can trigger it manually, I believe. If you can't, I'll put that down there so you know. But that will get you started working with it. And like I said, just make a practice track that's more than 30 seconds, drag it into a new project in Acid. You will be in the Beatmapper working away. No problems. Give that a shot, see how it kind of reads things. I've got more to tell you about this later, but I did want to get this original first bit out to show you how to get it to come up, what it looks like when you go through the steps. And now we're going to take it to a different level of recording our own stuff coming up soon. And then I'm going to show you how to work that in there. I'm going to show you how I do it, but it's not probably the way most people would, because I actually record externally and then import it into here. I don't actually record into Acid so much. I've got other tools that I like because I like to manipulate my sounds before I put them anywhere. And as much as a good aligner as a digital workstation that Acid is, it is not the best effects situation. Sometimes you could do more virtual pedals and whatnot in your recording prior to putting them in Acid. So I will show you guys how to do recordings, or how I do recordings, and then I'll show you another way to do recordings. That's coming up. That's it for today. We're going to get more, and as I get back into this and kind of get back into the swing of it, trying to keep on the routine of it and come up with new ideas for you. So if there's got questions, drop them in the comments. I do read them all. Some of them I have not been able to get to yet. Some of them I've been working on. It's been taking me a bit longer than I hoped. So we'll keep going with it. Thanks for watching, and come back next week for more tips and tutorials. See you then. Hey, wanted to mention I was going to put this in the description down below so that you guys knew how to get into the Beatmapper manually. However, the process is a little more involved than something I thought I could talk you through, so I'm going to walk you through it and add it to the end of this video. So bonus content. We've got our track up here, same one we had a minute ago. Right click on it, go to track properties. Here, right click on it, go properties, on the stretch. Here's all your parameters right here that you change, and you can make this as long or short as you want to. So that's how you get in there manually. That should get you going if you need part of a track that didn't fix that you want to take care of. Anyway, I'm out. See ya.